Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Tom Spark and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be showing you how to make your own media server even if you're a complete noob. So guys, why am I making this video? Well, it's because I was once like you. I was a complete noob who didn't really know how to get things onto my TV so I can watch them. I didn't know how to do it safely. I got some letters in the mail from my ISP getting really pissed at me. Not only that, but I was just intimidated by the vast amount of tools out there. Should I make an automated media server? Should I just use Plex? Which torrent application do I use? Which websites should I use? I'm going to be trying to cover as much as possible in this video so you don't have to be as confused as I was. Now guys, in this video, I'm going to be focusing more on the fundamentals of how to build a media server. I'm going to be covering the fundamentals to give you a very good groundwork and foundation for understanding what a media server is and how you might go about building your own. I've made other videos on the channel that are very in-depth for kind of more advanced things, like building an automated media server where you can use various tools to automatically download your favorite shows and stuff like that whenever you want and just watch them automatically. Pretty cool. But as always guys, make sure to check with the local laws in your country. This video is by no means encouraging pirating or anything like that. I always only download shows that are legally available in my country and not copyright protected. So just make sure to follow those laws. So guys, what is one reason why you should make a media server in the first place? Well, that's because you can ditch the monthly subscription fees. Now, most modern media libraries, whether it be Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime Video, and these kind of things, the main idea when subscribing to these initially was you could pay like $5 a month to get access to a huge content library whenever you wanted. But nowadays, Netflix is rising fees, it seems like every year. You have to subscribe to multiple different streaming services just to watch the shows you want. And at the end of the day, if you want to watch every show you want, you might end up paying $100 or more a month, which just kind of feels like cable, doesn't it? So one of the most popular reasons people make media servers is to ditch these fees, and it's actually called cord cutting. You might have heard of this term. By making your own media server, you have a one-time expense, and it might not even be an expense depending if you have hardware laying around. Maybe you have an old laptop that you're not using. Maybe you have an old Mac laptop, a Mac computer, or maybe even something like a Raspberry Pi. You'll still be responsible for your internet bandwidth and stuff like that, but overall, it's going to be a very affordable experience. You're not going to have streaming expenses every month and stuff like that. There's not going to be contract changes, service cancellation, library rotations. Lots of times with these services, stuff gets pulled and added. It's a mess. Not only that, but you subscribe, like, oh, I'm going to watch a show. And then it's like, oh, they're only putting out one episode a week. So in order to watch the full series, I'm going to have to stay subscribed for 3 months. Yeah, there's a lot of tricks they do that are annoying, right? Honestly, what's more even annoying with Netflix is that sometimes they'll release 4 episodes and make you sometimes wait a month or 2 just to watch the rest of the season. And this is only arbitrary delaying the season, so that way you subscribe for more months. So guys, at the whole core of this idea of your media server is self-hosting. You might not know what self-hosting is, but basically what it is hosting your own content and providing it to yourself. There are a lot of different services and stuff like that you can self-host. You can actually like self-host Mastodon, which is kind of like a Twitter experience. You could self-host your files, which is pretty much what a media server is. You can even self-host applications and so forth. So guys, the core of it is making your own media server, self-hosting it so you can view it and access your kind of stuff. But you might be wondering now, well, if I want to make a media server, I want to make a computer basically that hosts my files. I could watch them on my TV, I can watch them on my computer, maybe I could even share them to friends or something like that. How do I pick the right hardware? This in itself could be a multi-video series, but I'm going to be trying to make it as simple as possible for this video for you. So guys, first up, we can kind of discuss hardware. How powerful of a computer do you actually need? Well, there's also other things to consider too. Stuff like storage capacity and also your budget. How big do you expect your media collection to grow? Are you expecting 1 terabyte, 2 terabytes, 3 terabytes? 1 terabyte is kind of plenty for me, but some people just like to have tons and tons of data. Fortunately, storage has gotten fairly cheap nowadays, so it's kind of up to you. Also, another thing to consider is performance. If you plan to stream high definition or 4K streams, you might need more CPU and RAM to do this, but nowadays most computers are fairly capable to do this. There are a lot of options out there where you can actually buy some pre-built computers that will give you a very good experience. A lot of them are pre-installed with Windows, and you can even flash them with your chosen operating system, and these are great experiences for the most part. If you're someone who doesn't have a computer, you might want to consider some of these options right here to have a nice, kind of small, nice, cool media server. If you take a look at this one, 500 gigabytes with an M2 SSD, and it also has an AMD Ryzen 7 5850, which is pretty capable for only around $270. This one is upgradable to 2 terabytes, so definitely pretty solid, and this will be powerful enough to stream 4K content. So overall, not a bad deal at all. And there's also more powerful ones available. This brand is pretty good. I've tested it myself. And I'll be putting links in the description down below for Amazon. If you click on those links, you'll help support the channel. And also, there'll be no cost to you. Win-win. But at the same time, you might just have some computer laying around that's decently powerful, and probably, unless it's a really old computer, it will probably be suitable for your needs for a media server. In fact, I run my media server on my main PC. It's very powerful. I don't really mind keeping it on all the time. I kind of just turn it. I kind of set the computer to go off around. You can actually like set timers and stuff like that on your computer to turn off around 10 o'clock. Or maybe like 12. Make sure you're in bed by then, and it'll turn on when you wake up. This is a cool little shortcut you could do. I've even kind of coded some things to do this, and that works pretty well. But for the most part, I just kind of tell my computer to go to sleep after a couple hours, and usually when I'm done using it, it kind of lines up. So you can use your main computer for this, especially since, if it's already powerful enough. If it's your main kind of place to organize files, it can be very useful. Installing extra hard drives shouldn't be too much of an issue, as long as you have space on your computer. So that's also an option. Just use your main computer if you want. Now, there's also another huge category of media servers that people like to use, and these are called NAS or NASs, or network attached storage devices. And basically what these are kind of specific computers designed to be kind of servers or media servers. There's some companies that sell these, like Synology, a couple of different other ones. These ones usually have like their own operating system, which kind of it can take a learning curve to use, but they are kind of optimized to be media servers, and you can usually install applications on them pretty easily. Synology is probably one of the easier ones to use, but again, you're going to be paying that premium price point for the specific experience, and you probably can't really do much else on it, like play games or anything like that. So it's kind of up to you if that's something you want. Next up, we could talk about the software solutions when it comes to your media server, and this one kind of is up to you, so I'll just kind of lay a basic groundwork for each option. Basically, you have Linux, which is one of the most popular options for like the power users out there. I myself don't really use Linux. I've experimented with the various Linux platforms, but sometimes things like updates and I'm not as familiar with it, so it can be kind of a learning curve. But if you're familiar with Linux, of course, this is one of the best options out there. It's very secure and reliable, especially it's very efficient at running too. So this is why it's a popular option for people. But you also have stuff like Windows. If you already have a Windows license, this makes it very easy. It's a very point and click process. It's a little bit more resource intensive than Linux, but again, it's very easy to use, and if you're familiar with it, it's also a decent option. I myself really haven't had too many issues with Windows with my media server. The only thing is you have to open a couple of ports here and there for specific applications, and make sure like the firewall isn't restricting your local access on your network. Outside of that, there really isn't any issues. Most of the popular media server applications, if you want to kind of build out your experience, usually do support both Linux and Windows, so that's also another kind of thing. It kind of is just up to you again. You could use Mac. Now, I myself haven't tested out using a Mac for a media server. My problem with Macs is that it's a very closed ecosystem, and I really don't have as much experience with that. The cool thing about Mac is that you can like share your screen very easily and stuff like that, although you could kind of do that with Chromecast. But with Mac specifically, the cool thing about Macs is that you could get a very, very powerful computer for relatively low cost. I saw some of the computers they're building lately for around $500, and they're pretty much blowing away anything in that price range. But again, Mac OS is kind of restricted. It is very nitpicky on how you use it, but if you're familiar with it, you could probably apply most of the principles in this video to using Mac as well. So guys, now that we discussed, the operating system's really kind of up to you, but let's go ahead and discuss some of the tools you'll be needed to make your media server. Now, of course, you're going to need something to download stuff, and I always recommend QBitTorrent. It's freely and a very reliable P2P BitTorrent client, as you can see at the top of this website. It's open source, developed by volunteers, and it has no ads. This is the industry standard that most people are using, and the settings are very easy to navigate. Most people used to use uTorrent back in the day, but kind of like shifted to using this since it doesn't have ads and just is a better product overall, especially when you're installing. It doesn't have tons of things to try to trick you to download out malware and stuff like that. So this is the one I recommend. Next up, guys, you'll need a VPN to anonymize your IP address while using these applications, because QBitTorrent operates via P2P. This basically means you're in a peer-to-peer network where everyone's IP address is public knowledge, and this is how people's IP addresses are observed, and you get letters in the mail. But of course, guys, remember, don't download pirated content. This video is not condoning that. This video is only focusing on building your own media server to either host your information you already have or to download files that are not copyright protected. Anyways, guys, back to the topic at hand. Using a VPN to anonymize your IP address is very useful. It's useful for anything, really. You don't want ISPs tracking you to do everything, see everything you're doing. It's good for anonymizing yourself just in general. So that's why I'm recommending it in this video. But specifically, how do you know which VPN to choose? Well, I've made a tier list of every single VPN provider. Not only that, I have a publicly verifiable table where you can see where every VPN is listed with all the different features they have. So which VPN do I recommend specifically for torrenting and building your own media server? Well, NordVPN. Why do I recommend NordVPN specifically? Well, it's a very good VPN for torrenting for numerous reasons. If you click on my link in the description down below, you'll be able to get 4 extra free months instead of just 2 or 3, which I usually give, and you'll be able to get it for $81 for 28 months, which is a very affordable price tag. This is an affiliate link. It'll help support the channel. This is not sponsored by Nord. I have affiliate links for most of the VPNs out there. Nord is just the top rated one, and let's go ahead and discuss why. Well, NordVPN is very fast. This is very important for downloading stuff and probably one of the most important things. They have tons of servers, almost more than any other VPN. In terms of security, they're very airtight. They've done multiple no-log audits. They have a very good bounty program, which means hackers are constantly testing it to make sure that, it's a secure VPN. They do not collect logs on you, which is good. They use RAM service, which means your information is purged. And it has a SOCKS 5 proxy, which means you can actually use it very well with your media server setup, which I can kind of show you in a little bit. But not only that, Nord also has a remote VPN feature, which is very, very useful for a media server. This basically lets other friends remote into your media server. You could watch stuff together. You can even get access to it when you're not home, and you can even play games if you want to. So that's very cool, and no other VPN offers that feature built in for free, included with the subscription. So a very, very nice value proposition. Now, guys, remember I talked about the SOCKS 5 proxy? Well, basically what a SOCKS 5 proxy is, it's a thing included with your subscription with a VPN. Now, with a VPN, it's usually an application you download and you connect to the server, but NordVPN is actually one of the few VPNs that just lets you copy a URL, put it into QBitTorrent, configure it to port 1080, authenticate it with your kind of username that you'll set up on NordVPN's account panel. Pretty much you just kind of, I'm not sure if they got, yeah, here it is. See, you just go to the account panel, set it up manually, verify, copy the information, and you'll kind of put that right here like it says. This is a guide they have on their website you can also check out. So basically what this does is it will always anonymize your traffic, and you don't even need to turn the VPN on. So very, very useful. Not every VPN offers this, like I said. In fact, a lot of them don't. So So just another good reason to use NordVPN. You can even use various tools like this one, it says, to check and see if your IP address is anonymized while torrenting. So make sure to check out this guide definitely if you're going to use NordVPN, and use my link if you like this video. This is really the only way the video makes money. I barely make any money on YouTube ads. I don't really recommend products I don't believe in. So if you do want to help support this video and you found it useful, use my link with Nord and that will help support the channel. And that covers the VPN section of this video. So guys, now that you have your media and stuff like that, you're going to need some kind of front end interface. What do I mean by that? Well, basically you're going to need a application that will kind of host your content on your computer and then be able to broadcast it to another device. And for my purposes, I use Emby. You can also use something like Plex or Jellyfin. Jellyfin is actually kind of a distribution of Emby. Emby kind of became more closed source and Jellyfin kind of went its own direction. My experience though, while Jellyfin is more privacy friendly and more open source nowadays than Emby, it also doesn't work quite as good, and Emby's free plan is also pretty good too. I actually pay for Emby just because I like it so much, even though it's not even necessary. I do think it's better than Plex. The interface is just a little bit easier to set up in my opinion, but you can also use Plex. So the good thing about Emby, it's also available on Apple TV and Android devices as well. So yeah, I personally use Emby on a NVIDIA Shield, which is my go-to device just because I really like the controller and how you can find it and stuff like that. Very easy to install. And basically all you do with Emby is if you have it on your computer and your NVIDIA Shield, they'll kind of connect to each other. And like I said, you just need to make sure they have your ports open for Emby and make sure your firewall isn't blocking anything. I'll just put something on the screen really quickly right here to kind of show you that. But honestly, that's really all you have to do to just be able to see it on your network. And once you do that, you'll be able to connect and watch any content as long as your media server or computer, whatever you're using, is on. And that's kind of what I was referencing before. You just need to make sure it's on all the time. So that's pretty much all you do to be able to kind of watch that content. So guys, like I said, this is my preferred device, the NVIDIA Shield Android TV Pro. You can even emulate on this if you want to. It has very cool AI upscaling for old content, which I also like. That works pretty well. The controller is really cool because you can pretty much use the NVIDIA Shield to find it. It'll make it start beeping, which is a nice little feature. It's probably the most powerful kind of Android TV box there is. It's not perfect, sometimes I have to reset it and stuff like that, but that's just kind of standard with this kind of thing. But definitely a very solid device, and I'll be putting a link for this in the description down below if you want to get this one. So guys, I think that's a pretty good run through of how to start your media server as a noob. I went through some basics of each kind of category of how you'll set it up. This is just kind of like a foundational start for you. And if you have any comments, let me know down in the description down below. Basically, the way I think of it is like you're getting a computer, installing application on there, using a VPN to anonymize your IP address while downloading content online, and then finding a front end like Emby or anything you want to display that content. You can also use NordVPN to remote access, like I already said in this video, and that's pretty much all it is to starting your first media server. There's a lot of other things you could do, like automations, and I cover that in another video, which you could check out next right here.